Ferrari's engineers just made a decision that sounds completely wrong. Heading into the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, Maranello's powertrain team is deliberately dropping to a lower gear in slow corners. Not because the gearbox is struggling, because they want the engine spinning faster when the car is going slower. Ferrari is trying to squeeze every possible joule of electrical energy out of corners where other teams coast. So, how did the team that was supposed to challenge Mercedes for the 2026 title end up rewriting its entire energy playbook just 3 races into the season? 12 months before this moment, Ferrari's power unit division in Maranello was celebrating. The 067/6 engine had passed every dyno target. The SF-26 chassis weighed just 770 kilograms at its January launch, a mere 2 kilograms over the minimum, while Aston Martin was reportedly 40 kilograms overweight and scrambling. Ferrari looked lean, prepared, and dangerous. That confidence lasted exactly 1 qualifying session in Melbourne. Mercedes locked out the front row in Australia by August 10th of a second, not 800ths, 8 out of 10. George Russell and Kimi Antonelli made every other team on the grid look like they were driving a different category of car. And the advantage was not coming from the corners where Ferrari's chassis actually held its own. The gap was appearing on the straights in the electrical deployment phase where Mercedes' larger turbine and Petronas fuel combination was generating a level of power that nobody at Maranello had predicted. What comes next is the part of this story that the mainstream coverage has largely glossed over. Instead of chasing Mercedes by trying to replicate the W17 straight-line harvesting approach, Ferrari's engineering leadership made the opposite call. Enrico Waltier's powertrain team doubled down on their own philosophy. The 067/6 uses a smaller Honeywell Garrett turbine that spools faster than Mercedes' larger unit. That faster spool-up means less electrical energy gets wasted spinning the turbo during acceleration. Ferrari's theory is that they can recover energy more efficiently in corners and transitional phases, then deploy that stored energy on the straights to compensate for the raw power deficit. Here is where the engineering gets interesting. Under the 2026 regulations, the MGUK produces 350 kilowatts, roughly 470 horsepower worth of electrical output. That is triple what the old hybrid system delivered. In slow corners, the MGUK acts as a generator, converting kinetic energy back into electrical energy stored in the battery. The faster the crankshaft spins during this recovery phase, the more energy gets harvested per second. By holding a lower gear through corners like Suzuka's hairpin or the Casio triangle chicane, Ferrari keeps the engine turning at higher revolutions, even at low road speed, which means the MGUK recovers energy at a significantly faster rate than it would in the normal gear. The trade-off is real, though, and it is not small. Running a lower gear increases mechanical stress on the drivetrain. It generates more heat. It changes the car's balance on corner entry because engine braking pulls the rear axle harder under deceleration. Ferrari's drivers have to adapt their braking points, their throttle application, their entire approach to slow-speed corners. Both Hamilton and Leclerc need to trust the math before they commit to different downshift points at racing speed. Ferrari first experimented with this approach during pre-season testing in Bahrain when drivers were asked to downshift to first gear at certain low-speed points on the circuit. Red Bull actually pioneered the concept, but Ferrari has taken it further than anyone expected, turning a test day experiment into a race weekend strategy, specifically tailored to Suzuka's unique demands. The philosophy behind the approach reveals something about the mindset inside the factory right now. The idea is not to chase the W17 on Mercedes terrain, but to push Ferrari's own concepts to the extreme, exploiting every advantage the small turbo offers. That distinction matters because it shows a team that is not panicking, not copying. They are driving their own engineering direction harder and betting that the physics will eventually reward them. And Suzuka is the track where that bet gets its first real examination. The Japanese Grand Prix venue represents a third type of track layout for energy management, different from both Melbourne's energy desert characteristics and Shanghai's more conventional braking profile. Suzuka has very few heavy braking zones, which makes every joule of recovered energy precious. The hairpin at turn 11 offers heavy braking from moderate speed, creating a prime MGUK recovery opportunity. The Casio Triangle Chicane at turns 16 through 18 delivers the hardest braking event on the entire circuit, dropping from over 250 kilometers per hour, producing the single biggest energy recovery window of the lap. But the iconic flowing S-curves and the legendary 130 present a completely different challenge. Under the 2026 regulations, cars may now need to lift and coast through sections that were previously taken flat out. The active aerodynamic systems are changing the character of these corners, and the energy management software has to decide in real time whether to harvest, deploy, or coast through each phase. Suzuka's mix of high-speed flowing corners and a handful of sharp braking events creates a diagnostic puzzle that will tell Ferrari more about their energy philosophy than either of the first two races could. And then Ferrari made the one decision that added another layer of complexity to an already ambitious weekend. They chose to bring the Macarena rear wing back to Suzuka. The Macarena, named jokingly by team principal Fred Vasseur for its dance-like flipping motion, is Ferrari's most visually radical innovation of the 2026 season. Both upper rear wing profiles rotate approximately 270 degrees when activated, flipping effectively inverted to produce lift instead of downforce. On the straights, that slashes drag dramatically. During Bahrain testing, Hamilton gained roughly 10 kilometers per hour with the system active compared to the conventional wing configuration. The problem emerged within minutes of its competitive debut in Shanghai. During first practice, Hamilton entered the braking zone at turn 6, and the car snapped away from him. The front movable wing was closing faster than the rear. Macarena completed its full rotation. That timing mismatch lightened the rear axle at the exact moment Hamilton needed maximum stability under braking. He spun. His radio message was immediate: brakes locked up. Afterward, Hamilton questioned the decision to bring the wing to China at all, suggesting the team had rushed the deployment and that the Macarena was not supposed to appear until round 4 or 5. Ferrari pulled the system off both cars after that single session and raced the rest of the Shanghai weekend on the conventional rear wing. Even without the Macarena, Hamilton fought his way to a podium finish in Shanghai, which tells you something about the underlying pace of the SF26 chassis. This decision seemed small at the time. It was not. The data Ferrari collected during that single practice session turned out to be exactly what the engineers needed. Dynamic bench testing has continued at Maranello, focused on a more sophisticated Macarena version. The key upgrade targets differentiated closing times depending on corner type. A high-speed entry like Suzuka's 130 demands completely different wing behavior than the heavy braking into the chicane. These timing values cannot be measured in the wind tunnel and require real-world calibration. The Shanghai version was only a first stage. Whether the upgraded Macarena runs competitively at Suzuka or remains another data-gathering exercise depends entirely on whether the synchronization fix holds under the variable conditions of a full race weekend.